Oh yes, hello internet, and welcome to the free-to-play cast. Once again, this is episode 150, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. We're gonna talk free-to-play. We've got rapid fire. We've got a review today. It's a full show with your weekly bombs and your feedback from last week's question. But first, let's introduce the man joining me this week. You know him, you love him, host of Free to Play Weekly, Mr. Zach Sharps. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself, Mr. Mike?
Well, you know, we're here, we're breathing, we're talking about video games, so life can't be that bad when you're sitting around talking about video games.
Not at all.
Jason taking the week off. We'll see him next week. It's just Zach and I flying solo, so let's get to the news. All right, we're going to start off this week with the rapid fire round, being Gamescom.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. With Gamescom and Blizzard, of course, announcing Legion, their expansion, and Tryon going nuts and revealing a ton of things about every game, and everybody trying to get in on the news. Everybody wanted a piece of press this week. We've got the rapid fire round. Lots of small bits of news we're going to put together and give our impressions on it. First up today, reports show that Hearthstone, whichever you prefer, from Blizzard, brings in $20 million a month? What? I mean, we knew it was making money, but damn.
Sounds about right. I mean, this number only puts it near the top of the most grossing free-to-play games out there. And it makes sense considering the viewership it gets on Twitch. I mean, the game is always in the top games that's on Twitch, and it always brings in thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of people, even sometimes hundreds of thousands of people for tournaments. So it's a very popular game. It makes sense, and it just shows that maybe some free-to-play systems that a lot of people may or may not like gross the most revenue. I mean, we saw Star Wars: The Old Republic near the top as well on the last Super Data report showing the top grossing free-to-play games. Maybe there's a method of madness when it comes to that. I mean, maybe those hero skins are working.
Yeah, and this is, again, you mentioned it, this is all coming from Super Data, who does a lot of this type of number crunching. And of course, there's a little bit of speculation in there. I mean, they're trying to do the best they can with numbers that are public and then infer what numbers that aren't public might be according to those numbers. I thought also interestingly, not only is it making $20 million a month, which just, wow. To me, that number's really big for a card game. Well, for anything, really. But also, they broke down how people are playing it. Now the game is available on the PC, it's on your smartphones, on your tablet. 55% of Hearthstone players play exclusively on smartphones and tablets. Now, I expected that to be a pretty big audience because the game lends itself to that. But over half play exclusively on their smartphone or the tablet, while only 14% play on only the PC. And then there's that mix of 31% playing on both. I'm a little surprised by that. I thought the PC number would be higher, particularly with how long the game has been available on the PC versus the smartphones and the tablets and Google Play and Android and all that fun stuff. 55%. It's pretty well adopted, I would say, by the mobile crowd.
Yeah, I think what probably happened with that is it was probably, obviously, since it was the only platform it was on, it was very popular on PC. And then once it came out on Android and iOS, people are like, well, now I can take it on the bus with me if I'm, taking public transit, or if I'm taking a taxi, I can play Hearthstone in the back of the taxi, or whatever the case may be. Whenever they were on the move doing something, or they were away from their computer, which happens quite frequently, especially, since a lot of people work and have stuff to do, even if they're in college, they have to go to class or whatnot. So it makes sense. I mean, the only platform that I play Hearthstone on anymore, or Hearthstone, whatever you want to call it. I know I get knocked all the time for saying Hearth, but that's just what I've said for 5 years.
Yeah.
But regardless, wherever you're going, a lot of people now have access to Hearthstone, and for myself, that's exclusively what I play the game on, because for myself playing Hearthstone on my PC, sure, it's fine. It's just like every card game. But for me, for some reason, I have a lot more fun playing it when it's on mobile, because it just I guess I don't take it as seriously. I don't know. For some reason, I just find it a lot more entertaining on the go. So I think a lot of people probably feel the same, especially since a lot of people are on the go nowadays. So
I am part of the 14% that exclusively plays on PC.
really,
I really don't do anything on my smartphone or tablet as far as, and
yeah,
I have a Samsung Galaxy tablet that I use more for sheet music and playing piano. So it's a big ass tablet. You think I'd be playing
yeah.
Hearthstone on it a lot. I don't really game. Just not for me. I want to sit down at a console or sit down at a PC and go. So I'm definitely part of the 14%.
It's certainly new to me too, because I mean, for mobile, Hearthstone was the first one that really got me to play on my phone,
Right.
and then after that, I've adopted a couple other different games too. So mainly card games though. So
Now the wife, Damina, she plays on the tablet. I just can't. It's just I don't know.
not your style.
Give me a mouse and a keyboard, man. Give me a mouse and a keyboard. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
What up? What else for the rapid fire here? What up? WildStar free-to-play closed beta went live yesterday. If you're a subscriber, you can already access the free-to-play closed beta. A lot of people are saying, why the hell are they doing a closed beta? The game's already been out for a year. Keep in mind that they're trying to test the free-to-play functionality, and they're actually adding a pretty substantial content patch into the free-to-play stuff as well. So if you're a subscriber, you already have access. It's their public test server. The free-to-play stuff is on there, so it's not a different client or a different client or anything. It's just the server that is different. So you can already check it out if you have that down. If you want to sign up for beta, you could do that on the website, and they'll be sending out more and more beta invites as it goes. They also did a live stream. I don't know if you caught this. They posted it yesterday. They did about an hour live stream where Pappy and team, they started playing some of the new stuff and showing off the mounts and the random coin stuff and the... I don't know. It looks pretty standard to me, which is a good thing, I think, for WildStar. I think the last thing WildStar needs at this point is to put anything in that cash shop or their payment model that's going to turn somebody off. That's the last thing they can afford right now. I don't even think they can afford the Skyforge Spark caps, which has no impact on cash or money, but is still a pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Skyforge caps, that makes you more inclined to spend money on Argents to bypass the caps. Where WildStar
the credit portion of the caps,
yeah,
we should be fair.
the credit portion, exactly. It's still a large part though, especially in endgame. But
Right.
regardless of that, this is a type of thing with WildStar where they need to execute 100% perfectly. Because it's a matter of, if they don't, the game will be dead within 5 years. If they do, then it will be alive in 5 years. And they really don't, I don't think, have a lot of leeway with NCSoft because of how poorly the game did when it first came out. And so they really need to execute to their fullest extent. And I think that with NCSoft having every other free-to-play game under their belt, being that they are not really that bad of cash shops to begin with, like with Ion, Lineage, etc. I think that with WildStar, I think they'll have a lot of the same, and I think that it will be a very fine type of cash shop, especially with I forget what the currency is called, but the where you can spend in-game currency to get the VIP that the game has, a subscription.
Cred,
yeah, exactly. So especially with that, that's also going to incline more people to play the game because they'll be able to possibly get that subscription without having to spend a dime. So I think that as long as they set it up perfectly, the game will bring in a lot of people, get it up on Steam, get more eyes on it, and they'll be good to go.
which Steam still isn't confirmed or denied yet, so we have no
exactly.
idea on that one. It's got to be on Steam. Come on. Especially if you're going to go free to play at this point. In the content patch, there's actually a lot going on too, and Pappy in the live stream, which if you haven't checked it out, it's on YouTube. They posted it late last night. If you want to get about an hour and seeing some of the differences and getting some FAQs answered, although not the big one. When's the magic date? When's the date? We still don't know. It's going to be soon. I can't imagine the closed beta being too long. And a lot of people are asking if we're going to give away keys. We will always give away keys, but I have a feeling you're not going to see too many key giveaways on this one. I think it's going to be a very quick closed beta, make sure it's all working, and boom, go free to play.
Exactly.
So they did show something neat, and I kind of appreciated this as a WildStar player myself. They've totally revamped the character creation screen, so it's a little more intuitive as far as picking your race, picking your class, picking your faction, all that stuff. But then they give you one of three options, where you can pick, okay, Zach is a veteran. He's not only does Zach play MMOs, but he's played WildStar before too. So boom, you can click here and boom, you go right into game, brother. You bypass the arc ship, all of that stuff, and you just go. Then there's a second one off of that, one tier down from that is I'm familiar with MMOs, but I've never played WildStar. And that's where it's going to drop you in the arc ship. And you're not going to learn the basics like WASD movement and stuff like that because they're assuming you already know that. You've told them that you are familiar with MMOs. You just need to learn WildStar's telegraph system and how combat works, which is great. Then they've added and they redid the Dominion arc ship, by the way. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. The whole storyline's changed. And then they have even a lesser tier. I've never played MMOs, I've never played WildStar, or I just need a total refresher, and it will wake you up from cryosleep in a whole new area, and you will go through everything. WASD movement, then you will graduate to the arc ship, then you will graduate to the game. All the while, they've embedded videos along the way. So if you have no idea what the hell an engineer does, you can actually sit there and in the character creation screen watch what the engineer does. I like a lot of the things they're doing. The Alpha Sanctum that they're going to be adding, Madame Faye's Fortunes, the whole new player experience being revamped on that arc ship is huge. And then the loyalty program I gotta like, right? Because I've got 11 WildStar boxes redeemed on my account. So I'm going to be in good shape loyalty-wise. Are you excited about this, or are you still just kind of, well, I'll play it just a little bit to see what it's like free to play, but meh. They had their chance and it didn't capture you.
I tried it a little while ago. I would say probably a month ago now. I tried the free trial, and I hopped in the game, tried to give it a shot. I downloaded my Action Combat add-on, which ended up corrupting the entire client for whatever reason.
Womp, womp.
So I tried another one, corrupted the entire client. So after about 5 or so installs, I'm like, all right, I guess I can't use my Action Combat mod for some reason. And it might work fine now that I changed operating systems, but for some reason it just wouldn't work. And that is one of the bigger reasons why I was enjoying the game, was that mod, because I don't know about you, but when it comes to Guild Wars 2 even, I hate holding down right mouse when there's no reason why it shouldn't be held down for me. Because the game is so reliant on those telegraphs and aiming that you're going to have to hold that down almost all the time in order to enjoy the combat. So that was a little bit crappy for me. A lot of people have that out on working. But
did you just say you wanted the game to hold buttons for you?
I do. Auto hotkey that for the win. Anyhow, it's the functionality.
That one doesn't bother me. I always hold right mouse down on any game. So
it's just a little nitpick, but regardless, that's one of the reasons why I was enjoying it a lot. I still was enjoying it when that was away. It's just for some reason with that game, I don't know if it was just the time of night or whatever, but across 2 days, there was so much lag. And people were reporting on Reddit, they're like, how could you guys do this? You just put it up on the Humble Bundle. You also put it up in other places for sale. Why are you guys having so many server issues? This smells like you guys are going to have a hard time when it goes free to play. There's a lot of people that were grumbling that when I was playing it because of the fact the servers were they were crap, basically, where you would attack probably 5 to 10 seconds later, your attack would go through. And so I was having to deal with that a lot. I think when it goes free to play, if it's ironed out, their servers are fine, maybe they were just prepping something, who knows, I might enjoy it, because for some reason I was enjoying it a lot more than I did before when it was pay to play. Maybe it's because I know that it's going free to play and it doesn't bother me as much. But the game certainly does feel a lot more refined. They just need to work out some of the kinks that are still in it, like the view distance and how taxing that is on a system. I mean, you have that view distance maxed out, your rig's gonna be just ground to a halt, so you have to bring it down like halfway to get 60 FPS smooth. The stuff like that, they need to iron that stuff out, and they need to really realize that performance is a big concern amongst the community, and also lag as well, since it has been talked about in so many different places. So
I don't know. We'll see. It's not going to be long now. It's not going to be long now.
It's not. They're not going to launch it when Blade in the Soul comes out. If they do that, the game's dead in the water. I mean,
Well, and both being NC Soft, obviously
yeah,
they're not going to
do that.
They're not going to let that happen.
No.
All right, what else? Speaking of subscriptions and paying money, yeah. Oh, by the way, you brought up Guild Wars 2. A couple of people were talking to me this week about how I never really mentioned Guild Wars 2, and they were wondering if I play it. Yeah, yes, both Jason and I, Jason more so than I, play Guild Wars 2 quite a bit, and we're both big fans. And so they said, oh, well, I should compare other things to Guild Wars 2 more. They just don't really hear me. I apologize, Guild Wars 2 fans. I'm with you. Love Guild Wars 2. There's a couple of things that I don't like that ArenaNet's been doing lately, kind of like putting things in the game and then, oh, this is going to be really cool, and then they never follow up on it again. But all in all, big fan of the game. So yeah, I'll start comparing things to Guild Wars 2, just so you know. Give Guild Wars 2 a little love, even though it's not free to play. So Neverwinter, oh god, is launching the Stronghold module. That's out. Came out yesterday on the PC. So you guilds that are getting your strongholds ready for the next patch that'll have the PvP portion in it, good for you. You got some stuff going on. But you're also able to now purchase VIP packs. And at first, this kind of just seemed like a subscription service, and I was a little confused because I thought Neverwinter already did that. They already had like a subscription option type deal. It wasn't like a true subscription, but they had a thing, right? You buy the Zen and do this.
Did they?
I couldn't remember. Like I just thought in my head that they did. Apparently they didn't.
They did. Yeah, I don't think they did.
Apparently they didn't. And so now they're implementing a kind of subscription feature with a conjunction of a loyalty program thrown in there. Yeah. And there's aspects of it that I like, but all in all, I just don't think this is going to work too well. I don't think it's going to make a ton of money for Perfect World or for Cryptic Studios. So here's the way it works. You're now able to purchase VIP packs in the store using Zen. One VIP pack for 30 days is going to run you about $10 US. Think of it as kind of a subscription and a loyalty program rolled together, right? You get the VIP status in 30-day increments, packs stack, so you can buy a bunch and have 90 days, whatever. Opening the packs gives you a number of rewards based on your VIP rank. This is where the loyalty stuff comes in. Get 100 VIP points, you're VIP rank 1, you get the benefits of that rank. And you never lose those points or that rank. So even if you don't buy more packs, then you just stay at VIP rank 1. Okay, I'm with you, but why? This is so late in the process, and it seems like just such a money grab. And if you look at the VIP features, the perks, it's literally like they're trying to make it so that you and I both agree. When you play Star Wars The Old Republic, even though it's free to play, if you get on that Star Wars The Old Republic bend and you want to play for a month or two, what do?
You typically subscribe.
You subscribe. There's just no other way with that game. You go ahead and you subscribe. And this kind of feels the same way. It starts right off the bat at rank 1 with a 10% bonus to XP, Glory, Profession XP, VIP access, 15% bonus on Astral Diamonds for your dailies, and then ID scrolls, enchant keys on your account. And it just goes from there, right at rank 1. It's like, well, shit, the only real way to play is to attain some of these. Maybe you don't get the VIP for every single month from here till the end of time, but you're going to want to buy some of these, at least to get to rank 2 or 3 so that you start getting those team buffs.
I think they could be saving some base with this, because if you think about it, if they were smart business-wise, they would have released this with the console launch. That way it's all imbued, it's ready to go, and people who just started playing the game like, oh, this game has an optional sell, let me go and subscribe, get the best experience as I play the game for maybe a month and then quit. But the problem was they launched it a long time after that launch, and so it's kind of like, okay, maybe they're bringing this in trying to make people believe, okay, I don't really need the subscription, I've been playing for over a year without the subscription, so it's just adding a little bit of bonuses. There's no ill intent here. That might be what they're trying to go for psychology-wise, with the psyche of their players, or they're just doing this really sloppy. I don't know which of it is. I don't know if they're trying to, be like, okay, we've had a subscription system up in our minds for a little while. Here's what we're gonna do with it. Make you guys feel like you haven't been gypped, where the XP's been curved slower and having to deal with slower leveling if you don't subscribe, stuff like that. I can understand why players would be disgruntled if it was a new free-to-play game with a subscription system, because you think, oh, cool, the XP is 10% slower because they made a subscription with that. But this game's been out for so long that I don't think any player is going to think that. They're just going to think, oh, there's an extra buff that I could subscribe to monthly. So I think for the psyche of players, it's going to be fine. I just don't know how the tiering system is going to be amongst the community. I don't like tiering systems. I've said that numerous times. I don't like this tiering system either. No tiering systems. Get away with. They're just bad. They're just bad. Get away.
My thing is, I'm usually okay with like a tiering system, like Rift's, their loyalty program. It has no impact on you and I. It has impact on like cosmetic things that I'm going to get and mounts and things like that, and maybe I get a couple extra XP potions, that type of deal. But this type of tiered program directly impacts gameplay. Directly.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's and like it or not, if you're a hardcore raider in Neverwinter, I don't know if there is such a thing. I haven't played Neverwinter to that point, but let's assume that there are, with Tyranny of the Dragons having that huge raid and all that stuff in it. If there's that type of group, then it's going to be like, okay, which one of you is going to buy a couple VIP packs and put them all together because we want that team bonus?
Oh yeah,
that's the stuff that I hate, and I can't even go with you. To me, this is just Perfect World Entertainment being frickin' Perfect World Entertainment and putting dollars on stuff again. I like when games do things. We talk a lot about on this show and on MMO Bomb and Free to Play Weekly about cash shops providing something that you want to buy. Make me want to buy it. Right? I don't want to buy this. I feel like I have to buy this, particularly if my group, wants these bonuses and this type of stuff. To give credit where it's due, it's not free to play, it's buy to play. But the Secret World, for what you may or may not think of the Secret World, I enjoy the game for the storyline. Yes, I know the combat blows ass. It totally does. Don't worry about it. I'm with you on that page.
Soft targeting helped it out a lot, though.
Yeah. It still doesn't feel like impactful, but whatever. I like the way they do things like their AP injections in the cash shop. I don't feel like it takes long to get them in game, to get your ability points. It doesn't. You're just playing the game. You're going to rack them up really quickly. If you want to really, really rack them up because you really, really want to get that skill now, then we are going to offer these potions for you. But I don't feel like it's going to take me 6 years to go ahead and do that. And this is not doing that. Blah. Anyway, on the Neverwinter front, you mentioned consoles. You guys on the consoles are getting an update soon that is going to have everything in it except for the Strongholds package. You're going to get the Elemental Evil package in September, and it's also going to have Fury the Feywild, Shadow Mantle, Curse of Icewind Dale, so pretty much brings all the console players up to date with the exception of Strongholds, which just launched yesterday. So,
in other words, a lot of content.
Yeah, so if you're playing on the consoles, you're about to get a ton of content. On to Tryon Worlds before we leave the rapid round, or the rapid fire round. Tryon at Gamescom went ahead and dropped information for every free-to-play game they have. I'm going to turn it over to you since I talked a lot about the Neverwinter stuff because I hate this decision and Perfect World Entertainment can suck. Never mind. What do you think about some of the Tryon Worlds news?
Well, I talked about it a little bit on Free to Play Weekly. I really like what they're doing with Rift, bringing forth a new calling, essentially a new class.
About time.
It's long overdue, and the class itself looks pretty cool. If you guys don't already know, the class itself, I'm trying to find the name right now. I just brought up the notes.
Primalist.
Where is it at? Primalist, yeah, Primalist. It has a variety of different souls that are coming along with it. 6 new souls to be exact. It looks really cool. It could tank. It can. I think it can. It could DPS, of course, but I think it could also heal. Is that correct? Yeah, it could heal.
Yep.
I remember now. And overall, it looks pretty cool. They're also bringing forth new end game content like an expedition zone, dungeon, and more. A new raid as well in 3.4. So overall, that looks pretty neat. In terms of how much more they're planning on bringing forth later, like are they going to do a new expansion anytime soon, stuff like that. I'm not sure what in terms of their yearly schedule looks like in terms of their roadmap. we all know Blizzard's World of Warcraft, which is what they're trying to one up because they just launched basically, well, they talked about new content after that happened. I'm not sure whether or not they're planning on doing a new expansion next year or if they're planning on maybe do a reveal this year. I'm not sure regarding that, but regardless, as I always thought about Tryon, at least before everything else with like Arcage and all their other misses, I guess you could say. I always thought they ran Rift pretty well, and it looks like they're still keeping that sort of motto of more content, more end game going within Rift. So that's really cool for you guys playing Rift still. Then there was also Arcage releasing the largest update ever entitled Heroes Awaken, which is essentially just bringing forth a brand new hero system, updates to the guild progression system, housing upgrades, and a reborn Diamond Shore, just basically giving you guys more content, more stuff to do, and bringing forth a new system. That looked all right, even though it's Arcage. I mean, it's just Arcage. And then there's also Trove. Trove, with their upcoming fall update, the Shadow Tower will introduce all new classes, the Lunar Lancer, and endgame content as well. So a lot of endgame stuff from Tryon. It makes sense, and it's basically sort of what they've always done with their games, brought forth a lot of endgame and a lot of stuff to do once you are level cap. I like the Rift stuff. Don't really give two craps about the Arcade stuff. Trove, I might check out eventually. I still haven't got a chance to check out. What do you think, though, Mike?
Defiance was the most disappointing for me. It had almost nothing. You know, they got into talking about an upcoming patch that's going to give a new race of enemies, a couple Silicon Valley arc falls and supreme weapons, but to me it was okay. So that's a regular update. On the Rift front, I love that there's a new calling, finally. Finally. I mean, it's been since launch, right? We haven't had a new calling since launch, and I dig the Primalist. I don't know if I would play the Primalist, but I dig the whole backstory and the very nature and all that stuff. So big fan there. Arcage and Trove, whatever. Trove and Arcage just aren't for me, and I'm still just waiting for the day when Arcage is okay enough that I feel I can go and play Rift again. You were talking about a Rift expansion. Probably not going to be for a while. If you look back at their history, I mean, they went all the way to 1.11 before they clicked over to 2.0 with Storm Legion, and then they went all the way to like 2.8, 2.9 versioning before they clicked over to Nightmare Tide 3.0, and this is just update 3.4. So I'd imagine we have quite some time before the next Rift expansion, if they decide to even go that route anymore.
It's not even that big of a deal either. I mean, I just mentioned it because we don't know when it's going to happen. But their content updates are like expansions, at least what a lot of people end up calling an expansion. And they always bring forth new raids. They always bring forth new dungeons, new zones, just in a free update. So regardless if they do come out with a new expansion, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, they always still bring forth new content. So
let's talk about some MOBAs now. Let's move over to the MOBAs. MOBAs. Lightbulb Crew, the team behind Games of Glory, revealed at Gamescom that they'll be adding a persistent world into their shooter MOBA. And at first I was like, this could be a pretty cool idea. And then I started thinking about, are you really going to feel like you're impacting much? So here's the basic idea. Players will be fighting for certain factions, and whichever factions happen to have the most strength over time or the most wins or whatever, that type of play can cause changes to things like the storyline and the actual world. I think it's kind of a neat idea, particularly because it's not one that we see in MOBAs with that whole persistent, you see that in PlanetSide 2, right? That's a PvP game where it's a persistent world and the flux of battle goes back and forth. And I like that idea in a MOBA, but I wonder, as a player, are you going to feel like you really have much control? Or is it just my faction's being dominated this week? It really doesn't matter what the hell I do.
Unless it's like I mentioned in Free-to-Play Weekly, that's a very small glimpse of what they've showed us in a much bigger reality. I don't think it's going to be monumental enough for me to actually play Games of Glory as a long-term MOBA solution. Right now, if I want to play MOBA, it's either going to be Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends. I would play Dota 2, but I don't really want to get too much into the complexities of it. I enjoy watching it, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but it's one of those things that's just not my style MOBA. And with Games of Glory and with all MOBAs that are coming out nowadays, I just feel as if it's just like the MMO gold rush when World of Warcraft struck gold and brought forth all the bajillions of World of Warcraft clones out there. They need to do something revolutionary or it's not going to work and they're going to be shutting down soon. And so with Games of Glory, I think that they're either A, using this persistent world as sort of a gimmick to get more people into the game, or we just haven't seen enough of it. And maybe there might be some random hub that we're able to run around and see being affected by what we're doing in the world. I doubt it. It's probably just going to be like a little tiny page like, oh, this graph moved. You made a difference in the world. But you got to hope that's not. I really hope that there's some hope out there for new MOBAs, but every new MOBA I see just keeps trying to do the same things without trying to revolutionize the MOBA genre or do something different like what Blizzard did with Heroes of the Storm, bring forth a lot of different battlegrounds. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, even with Blizzard's MOBA, it's still not like pulling in a ton of viewership like a League of Legends or Dota 2 would. So even for Blizzard, it's been a struggle to get that amount of people to play their game. So I just don't see these smaller guys or people who don't invest that much money into their games and their brands being able to compete. I just don't.
I'm going to hold out a little more hope, a little more positivity on this one. I've talked to the team at Lightbulb Crew a few times, and they are super, super passionate about this game. Yeah. And the reveal at Gamescom as far as what their thoughts are was like you said, it was this big. You know, it was very tiny, very tiny. And you just got the sense that they had some really wicked ideas that they wanted to do. They just weren't ready to talk about them yet. I'm going to remain positive in this one. I actually enjoy Games of Glory, surprisingly, for somebody that's not a huge MOBA guy. I kind of liked the gameplay. Go check out the first look on that one. So yeah. I'm gonna hold a little more positivity on this one, and I'm gonna wait and see what Games of Glory does, because I think they're gonna surprise us with a couple of the things, and it wouldn't be surprising if one or two things really catch on if you end up seeing them in a Blizz title. I mean, that's kind of the way it works.
Yep.
Also in the MOBA front, the Dota 2 International wrapped up with Evil Geniuses taking the championship, the first North American team to do so. So USA, I guess. Congrats to them, though, pulling in a $6.6 million purse to split between the five of them. So overnight millionaires, unless you happen to live in the United States and then have fun with your taxes. You had just mentioned watching. Are you like that guy that could sit there all day on a Friday or Saturday and get your popcorn and just watch these league championship series or the international or the Heroes of the Dorm or any of these tournaments?
No, I mainly watch the finals of all of them. With Heroes of the Storm and the Heroes of the Dorm, I watch the finals. With the League of Legends World Championships, I typically watch the finals for that. I'll watch the finals, and I watched a couple of the games I didn't watch the last game because that's something I needed to get done. But I watched the 6.6 million, I forget what the move was called. It was like basically wombo combo, just annihilated the other team. I watch them mainly because they're entertaining, because if you know anything about MOBAs and you watch when there's really good shoutcasters, you can get into it. And I think that's what Heroes of the Dorm showed, where they had really good casters, and a lot of people who didn't even care about MOBAs, didn't even know a lot about online games, still enjoyed that. I mean, it had a good amount of viewership, a good amount of good vibes from people who were open-minded about that type of thing on ESPN. But with the Dota 2 International, I thought it was really well put together type tournament. I think that they did a really good job with the shoutcasting, and I got into it. I just had stuff to get done on the last game, but I knew EG was going to pull away with it because the Chinese team didn't look like they were trying to reel in too much. They just kept doing, like the announcer said, they kept doing the same things over and over and over again, and EG had them completely beat by then. So,
congrats to Evil Geniuses. Finally, Crytek. God, here we go. All right, let's try and get through this real quickly. Crytek, who really doesn't have the best track record as far as free-to-play, at least here in the States, read Warface. Crytek has moved Arena of Fate to closed beta. Now, it's a MOBA with a twist, and I know we've heard
MOBA!
We've heard MOBA with a twist before. So what's the twist this time around? Well, the twist is twofold. One, with the characters. The characters you're selecting are fictional or historical figures. So, like, you might have Jack the Ripper, Joan of Arc, and that type of Nikola Tesla. So yeah, okay, fine. We saw this with do you remember what was that? Universal Monsters? Way
I don't
back
even
when it
remember.
was a MOBA with the Universal Monsters. Oh jeez. The other twist is that the matches are timed, and I kind of like this idea. I want to see how this goes. So it's like boom, 20 minutes, and that's it. Your match will either be 20 minutes long or shorter, depending on how you rack up the points, how you and your team rack up the points. But whoever has the most points at the end of the 20-minute time limit, boom, that's your winner. Which I kind of like as far as keeping things from dragging out into 45-minute matches and things like that. But again, it's not enough to really set it apart for me. And it's Crytek, which generally doesn't have that great a reputation, particularly here in the West, with free-to-play to begin with, even though they're saying all the right things. We don't want payment to have anything to do with gameplay, etc., etc., etc. I don't know. I just can't. It's hard for me to get excited about this one.
I feel like it's a desperate attempt for them to make another MOBA. Well, make a MOBA in a very saturated MOBA space already. And I don't know how they're going to get the limited time matches down, because the reason why games like Heroes of the Storm were able to get their match times down, their average match time, is because they created mechanics within the game in order to accelerate the growth of a character, so that way you get further in the game a lot quicker.
Well, they're doing it by imposing
a
hard time limit. That's how they're
exactly,
doing it. Boom, 20 minutes. If it's
makes
50 to
zero
49,
sense.
you win at 50.
Yeah, which makes zero sense for an actual balanced play, because that means that there's probably not going to be a snowball mechanic in terms of like an anti-snowball mechanic. There's just going to be snowballing. I just don't see it being balanced enough, because the way that you create smaller time, density, like the way that you make matches shorter is by making mechanics that allow those matches to be shorter. You don't impose a time limit, because if you impose a time limit, it's going to make people have random artificial boosts to their characters randomly throughout the match. They're going to have to do something that's going to power these people through the match, or there's going to be a lot of incomplete matches. So it just sounds really wonky to me, and I think that a lot of MOBA players rather would have the consistency of an average match time instead of being forced and shoehorned into a time limit. So I don't see it working out well for them. I hope their free-to-play model is fine, but I'll check it out. I check out most of the MOBAs that come out just to see, but I don't know. I don't see how it's going to work.
Finally today, let's talk about a little Magic Duels. We did the first look, posted it, I think it was maybe a week ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Have you played it all?
Oh, I played probably about
Okay.
10, 15 hours. Yeah.
Awesome. And you're playing on PC?
I played on the PC a little bit. I played on the Xbox One when the PC servers weren't working, and I also played on the iPad when it was not even out on PC yet. So
Awesome. I mean, there's not really too much to talk about here. Graphics, we normally break the reviews down into like different segments. Graphics, it's exactly what you think it is. It's the Magic the Gathering cards. The art is wonderful in most cases. It's detailed, and so to me, I can't really give it a graphic score. It's exactly what you think it is. It's the Magic the Gathering cards with some colored lines showing things where it's going.
I can give it a little knock though, because when I was live streaming it on my YouTube channel, a lot of people in the comments were saying this game looks bland, this game looks bland, this game looks bland, because you look at Hearthstone, which is essentially what their competitor is going to be, whether they like it or not, especially now that they're bringing forth a free-to-play edition of their title. That game's a lot more charming to look at. It has a lot more of the smaller, finer details intact. It has a lot more, spell effects, so on and so forth. Where Magic Duels, it's a fun card game because of Magic the Gathering, and I'll still reinforce that. I still play it because it's Magic the Gathering, but it doesn't have those flashy spell effects, the nice little things that make people like, wow, this game's a really, really well polished game. It sort of just looks eh. And
I think that's kind of nitpicky for me. It's a card game. The graphics don't frickin' matter at that point.
Saying, some people's first impressions might make them go back to their competitor because this doesn't have enough.
Right, but how many people do you think are honestly looking at Magic Duels that aren't familiar with Magic the Gathering anyway?
On Steam, a good bit, because maybe you
No,
just see
come
it.
on.
A lot of people don't play Magic the Gathering that you think that
Right,
might.
and so you're
There's a
not going
lot
to
of
see
people.
Magic Duels and be like, I really want to play this, but by the same token, you probably aren't looking at Hearthstone without knowing somewhat a little bit about it, that it's a card game and that it does this. There's a pre-knowledge that goes into these types of games a little bit. You may not know them inside and out and the strategies and how to play, but I don't think your average knows nothing about Magic Duels, knows nothing about Magic the Gathering, knows nothing about Hearthstone, is going to make a call just based on graphics. If you do, maybe, okay, fine.
I think some people are a little bit more nitpicky than that, but that's beside the point.
The sound design is horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. The combat sounds are actually grating to me. They're hard to listen to, and I find myself clicking very quickly when the cards pop up and the heroes pop up for the damage sequences.
Yep.
It's pretty grating. I got to give that a really, really low score. If you don't know Magic the Gathering and you're checking this game out, you're going to be fine. The game is plagued with tutorials. Plagued with them.
Exactly. Great word.
Which it didn't bother me because I realized why they were there, but a YouTube viewer and I were kind of talking it back and forth, and they made the good point that, most of the audience that's going to play Magic Duels already knows a lot about Magic the Gathering. They may need a refresher or whatever, and so it is kind of annoying given that most of your audience is going to have some familiarity with it. I kind of looked at it from the side of, if I was a brand new player, this is exactly what I would need, because the game is so in-depth with Trample and Renown and all these new things coming every single year. But, yeah, it is tutorial heavy. Do them so you can earn your gold and get some free packs.
Pretty much.
All in all, it's what I expected it to be. And I like that it's not the Planeswalker series anymore that they try and repackage and sell you for cash every year. If you're going to spend that $25 every single year to buy the Planeswalker series, the current PC stuff, then take that $25 and put it into a bunch of booster packs in a free-to-play game that is constantly just evolving as the sets evolve. I think it makes a lot more sense. I didn't expect too much from it besides it to be able to play Magic the Gathering. I hate that there are fatal unknown errors and that there's no official fix for it.
Oh my god.
You've got to really search the internet out, and I mentioned that during the first look. I hate that they're still having server issues. So if I was going to give it a 7 as an average, what I expected for Magic the Gathering, the fatal errors and the server and the sound design definitely pull away from that for me. So I'm probably going to land at about a 6.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things where I like Magic the Gathering. I mentioned that numerous times. Last time I was on the show, I like Magic the Gathering over Hearthstone as my preferred card game. Although the server errors, the amount of random other errors that are in the game, the fact it's not, in my opinion, ups the production quality of the Planeswalker games. They sort of downgraded a bit, especially with the sound effects.
You said that, and I forgot something that I got to give it a 5. I got to knock it down one more point. I got to give it a 5. Did you play through any of the story stuff?
I played through a little bit of it, like with the cinematics and stuff.
Yeah, aren't they abysmal?
They're terrible.
I got to the end of Gideon's story, which was 5 little story quests, and in between the quests they just throw up a splash art and some text, and it's fine. But at the end of the story, they tried to do a cutscene, and they're awful. They are just awful. So I'm gonna give it a ding for that because they are abysmal. I'm gonna put it at a 5.5 now instead of a 6.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it just seems like they downgraded a lot of the finer qualities of the Planeswalker series. Didn't try to correct anything that people had complaints for that, and then made a free-to-play version of it. And so for that, I understand why people are mixed about it, why they may or may not like it. It's completely understandable. Plus with the rarity caps on decks, preventing mythic bombing, I understand why they did it, because controlling, like say one mythic or whatever is better balance-wise and a lot easier to balance than controlling many of them. Understandable on that front, but that being said, you're making a Magic the Gathering game. Why don't just have the standard Magic the Gathering rule set? So I understand why people are mad about that. I play the game, but it pisses me off frequently when the servers don't work. And that's why I primarily, and which is stupid because I spent a little bit of money on the PC forefront, which was stupid of me. I should have spent it on the Xbox One version because I literally, when I was having server issues with a friend trying to play on PC, loaded up my Xbox One, worked instantly. Perfectly fine. Every time I've ever tried it on the Xbox One version, it works perfectly fine. And it irritates the living hell out of me that there's so much discrepancies between each of the platforms that on one platform it works, on the other platform it doesn't.
Yep.
So either they have separate servers or they're using maybe Microsoft servers. Who the hell knows what they're doing server-wise? Because the game works very inconsistently, and because of that, I have to give it a 6 when it comes to things not working. Not that bad. Like when things are working but they're kind of not working, I'll give it a 6. But when everything's just not working, the game's like a 5 to me. But if everything works perfectly fine, and this is going to be my months down the road score because it's probably going to get fixed by then,
right?
I'll give it about a 7.3. It's just average.
Yeah, to me, I'm giving it a score of like a 5.5 based on how it is right now. And to me, I think if you want to play Magic the Gathering and you don't want to have to shuffle and deal pesky pieces of cardboard, you just want to do it on a screen, you're going to have a pleasant experience, and you're going to get to play Magic the Gathering. There are stupid limitations that I don't think should be there, or should at least be optional between players, like the mythics, like you were talking about. That should be something that if you and I agree that they're allowed, and maybe that's coming. Who knows? Player customization on the rules. If you want to play Magic the Gathering, it's going to let you do that. Are there some annoyances and sometimes where it doesn't work? Yeah, and that's why it's kind of getting mixed reviews all over Steam, too. Let's.
I gotta mention one last thing. A lot of these issues were caused by them YOLO launching it on the PC.
Yep.
And I don't know why they would do that. Like, they should understand by now. Like, you would think that Wizards of the Coast, being the publisher of this game, the developer, I've never really heard of them. I think they worked on the previous Planeswalker titles, and that's about it. But you would think by now they would understand, okay, we need to beta test our games. Obviously, our in-house QAs don't know what the hell they're doing, or they don't have enough of them to really spur up these issues, because when you stress test something, that's when everything goes wrong. And so they should have at least did like a one-day stress test to say, oh, the game's not ready. Obviously, we have server issues. We have all these issues. We need to fix them before we release them. I really am just so tired of this lazy release type experiences that we're getting from developers. Not just Magic Duels, but there's also other developers out there that do it too. They need to make sure their game is as polished and refined as possible, especially server issues. Out of all things, server issues with a card game. Come on now. Unacceptable.
Let's slide over and do the bombs because Zach's already on a rant. Go ahead,
not my
sir.
bomb, though.
We'll go ahead and let you go first.
My A bomb goes to what I said earlier, and it's too many MOBAs. I'm not going to give it to Magic Duels. I've already said my piece on that. But A bomb to too many MOBAs. I really want them to slow down. It's a saturated market. As a business person, I would not look at that market like, oh, we need to make a MOBA. I'm like, we need to stay clear away from that, because obviously there's way too many of them going on right now. Sure, it's a popular trend. A lot of people like MOBAs, but they're very loyal to the MOBA that they like. For example, if you go on a League of Legends video, there's people from Dota 2, they're like, oh, Dota 2 is the best. You go to a League of Legends video, Dota video, and there's people like, League of Legends the best. They're very loyal to what game they enjoy and what game that they plan on playing for a very long time. They're not going to really hop ship and be like, oh, let's play this MOBA for now, because none of their friends probably will be playing that MOBA. They just will stick with what they know. And that was the same thing we saw with World of Warcraft when that game first came out. All the WoW clones that preceded it, such as even, Rifts trying to be pay-to-play, ended up failing as pay-to-play, went free-to-play. We saw Star Wars The Old Republic go basically pay-to-play as sort of a World of Warcraft-esque type game, but in the sci-fi Star Wars universe we all love. It failed. We saw Ion, the next big thing, end up failing as pay-to-play as well. We need to stop seeing trends where games come out, they have a large success, and then everyone tries to copy them. The reason why they got that success, developers, is because they tried something new. They innovated, and I don't see anyone from the MOBA front. Maybe Games of Glory will do something with that persistent world. Who knows? I just don't see it happening.
And you know what? Here's my first opportunity to say Guild Wars 2 did it right.
Yes, exactly.
They decided on, let's go buy to play, and that's the way we're going to do it.
Yep.
My bomb is an A bomb for a situation Funcom is in. They're in need of an investor, a merger, or some funding of support of some type. And they have been off and on for years, but now it's kind of down to the crunch. And they've solicited third-party help to try and get an investor or a merge of some type. Now, I like a lot of their products, particularly the Secret World. Not too fond of the Lego game that was free to play and then converted to buy to play. Anyway, but their marketing, among other choices they make, is really just terrible, and I don't want to see the Secret World disappear, man. I spend my money on it. Zach, keep the damn thing going. Keep it going. So an A-bomb to the situation, and hopefully they find an investor, a merger, or an acquisition, or a partner of some type that really works for them and works for the players.
Exactly.
Now, on to the viewer bombs, and I do have to say that we asked the question of the week last week of what MMO would you like to see rebooted, and there were a lot of you that put your weekly bombs in and your answers, which is fantastic, great, keep doing it, we love it. There's a lot of feedback this week because of it. So if I am giving somebody's reply in the A-bombs and dub-bombs, and I also mention what game they would like to see rebooted, that's why. So I'm trying to get everybody's feedback in there as much as I can. So Penlion says, a dub-bomb to Area Games. There's one we don't hear often. A dub-bomb to Area. For a decision to merge the US, German, and Italian servers of Grand Fantasia. Combining 3 languages is not ideal, but it beats shutting down the game. They also announced a new content patch for the fall. Also, their support for Aura Kingdom has improved. And Penline would like to see a reboot of Runes of Magic. I would not be opposed to a reboot of Runes of Magic either.
As long as it's not pay to win.
Yeah, as long as
that's killed it, right?
As long as part of the reboot is a total revamp of the cash shop, then yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Exactly. Tol Shorty says, the bomb to Final Fantasy XIV. Great game that seems to keep on keeping on. After a long break, I was pleased to see the new additions and was reminded of all that game does well. I agree. I think Final Fantasy XIV, if you're into pay-to-play games, a really good one.
Shadow Wolf says, A-bomb to Magic Man didn't grow his beard back. Shadow Wolf, I think you meant mustache, because I never had a beard, and there's no way I'm growing that mustache back. That was for a theater show, and come on, look at the Bomb Live title slides. It looks like a porn stash. I'm not growing it back. I'm not growing it back. I'll take the A-bomb, since I'm not growing it back.
All right. Kinetic Fetus, funny name, says, I'll give a bomb to the feeling you get when you snipe someone off of an ATV in PlanetSide 2. Bye-bye, ATV guy. Bye-bye.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to the feeling of being sniped off of an ATV while playing PlanetSide 2. I would not know what it is like to snipe somebody off of it, but I do know what it's like to be knocked off of it. I got a lot of dub bombs last week for my hair. You guys are weirdos. YouTube and internets, you're all weirds, and I love you. I love you all. I didn't do anything with it last week. It was so long that I just, like, brushed it. That was it. But apparently everybody liked the new haircut, which made me feel bad when I got a haircut this week. So, Matavello says, da bomb to Grinding Gear Games Path of Exile for their super update and the good work. Love the new leagues and race season. A-bomb to Skyforge, not because of limits, but it has very good PvP mechanics and arenas, but we stay in queue for 2 hours and don't get a match, so their solution is to make an event every day at 18 to 19 hours to get bonus stuff on 10v10. So that means we can only play PvP for an hour per day. What the hell is wrong with them? Hopefully it gets fixed with a new patch of the prestige scale. I'm a Smite player. We were talking about Smite last week, and maybe some Smite players feeling a little uh-oh with high-res announcing Paladins. I'm a Smite player, and I can feel some kind of careless, because all skins coming out now are a lot of low-budget-like skins compared to the old ones. They clearly don't care now, and the YouTube videos they're posting are pretty cheap, too. Sad, but they will probably ignore Smite. It's just a matter of time. Good, keep up the good work, MMO Bomb. Thank you so much for the compliment. We definitely will. I just don't see high-res abandoning Smite like that. I can't.
I don't see it either. It's so successful. They might be right at the moment going through a little bit of growing pains, trying to allocate some resources from maybe like a couple of the more lead developers over at Smite, or maybe trying to help Paladins get up and going. That's probably why you're seeing a little bit of downgraded quality, but that game has to be making them a lot of money. Why would they give it up right now? It makes zero sense. So I think those of you Smite players that are worried, I wouldn't really be worried. I mean, yeah, they have a history of giving up on random projects, but it's successful. Why would they give up on success?
Yep.
All right, so Crime says this new Nosgoth update is killing me here. Eek. Every round.
That's a great. Eek.
Eek. every round, at least one person drops from a crash or gets disconnected. Hell, some matches won't even allow me to load in. This never used to happen until that update, and it's a real buzzkill during late night matches when populations are low. Phew, felt goods events. Still stoked for those skins from rank matches.
Crimes, we're here for you when you need to vent, and Zach's here when you need to send us sound effects. And there was also a phew.
Yeah, exactly.
Proximities HD said, this week's A-bomb for me is going to Snail Games again. I don't know what to think of this company. It's like they treat the MMO that gives them almost 80% of their company's profit like garbage. The MMO I'm currently playing is Age of Wushu. It's in a terrible state, and more than half of it is Snail Games' fault. When I was listening to the show, it just reminded me of how bad this company really is. Snail Games has set rules for Age of Wushu. You know the standard don't cheat, all that stuff. Don't buy illegal items from third-party websites. But here's the trick. If you're a big spender on Age of Wushu, Snail Games will let you add their GMs on Skype, and you can ask them to get unbanned for cheating. Also, big spenders get a special type of service. Your account goes to Super VIP status. Next up in the Neverwinter package will be Super VIP.
Yeah. Super VIP.
And you can ask the GMs to basically hand you items if you missed an event or something. This is not even everything that is wrong with Snail Games / Age of Wushu, but I'd be sitting here writing a 20-page book if I tried. Now, at magicman, I really want to ask you if you know if this is a common thing for MMO companies to do. Do you know if other companies have special services if you're a big spender on the game? And if so, do you believe this is a fair thing to do? All right, so proximities, we have to just kind of take your word for your description here that everything you are saying is true, that Snail Games is doing that type of stuff. Assuming that, which I can't validate, I mean, of course, Snail Games is going to tell me if I ask them, no, we're not doing that type of stuff. But we'll assume for a minute that what you're saying is true because you've got no reason to lie to me when you're venting about a game. This is a tough one. At least to me, Zach, this is kind of a tough one. Yes, it happens. This type of stuff happens and more. Does it happen with other games and other companies? Yes, it happens with them too. Are they public about it? Absolutely not.
Oh, no.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Is it fair? Probably not. But I can't blame them either. I really can't. It's like that, you know, Zach spends $50 million twice a year at that big casino in Vegas. Well, every time he goes, they're going to take care of him and give him things that they will not give normal people, even the normal higher rollers, because Zach is just dropping insane amounts of money at the casino and they want to keep that business. I can't blame them for it, but no, it probably isn't a fair thing to do.
Definitely not fair, but you got to keep those giant whales happy.
Yeah, you really. It's a catch-22, man. Because you, as a game developer and a publisher, I want to make sure I have the impression that everybody is treated fairly and everybody is treated the same. But at the end of the day, it's also my job to make sure the money rolls in too. So it's a real weird, ugly, sticky gray area, and it's not one that I would want to be in. So no, to me, it's not fair. But I also can't really blame them. They're looking out for their own interests. Question of the week last week, but they'll never be public about it, ever. You'll never hear too much about that stuff. Jason wrote an article 2 weeks ago about MMOs that would be great to have rebooted, whether they were shut down or still active. What MMO would you like to see rebooted and why? Guestly sent me. The answer would be a reboot for Cabal 2. Even if they say the game is old in other countries, why then is the game so buggy, glitchy, bot-friendly? Not only chat is filled with gold sellers, but even mail is spammed with them. 99% of people I saw at the first dungeon were names like ASD, ASD, FAS, ASD, ASD, WAWSDAS, clearly all bots. Sound was bugged. Even older game was better in visual aspects, textures, frames per second. Sorry, but I'm really upset with Cabal 2. And you know what, Guestly? You're not alone.
Not alone.
Check out their forums. Check out their forums.
Tall Shorty says the MMOs I'd like to see rebooted in order of want are Fallen Earth. Despite its clunky controls, I enjoyed playing it. I like the atmosphere and a lot of its features. The game is clearly dated now, and a reboot with some mechanic tweaks could result in an awesome experience. Transformers, I like to have an actual MMO instead of the battle arena they released last time. Creating a bot and gearing it out while exploring an open world just seems like a lot of fun. So I want this one simply because it never really happens. There is a ton of games I'd probably play by if they were rebooted though. Nine Dragons, RuneScape, Lotro, DDO, Star Trek are just a few. Let's face it, many of the older games with some tweaks and a facelift would likely do really well, especially if some got rid of the paywalls or at least opened their content up a bit more, or in the case of those who did their cash shops well, if they stayed true to their hearts and stay true to their original. Great question of the week.
Woot woot. Thanks for the compliment. Thanks for the compliment. We try. Michael Louis Swell says, Louis it's French. Louis maybe? I don't know. Question of the week. I would like WoW, Ion, Lineage 2, and Lord of the Rings Online. Sorry, Jason. These games were great before certain expansions, mostly the ones that went free to play. I think all 4 of these games could have their graphics redone and lore redone. Now, I didn't play much of Lord of the Rings Online, and it could take a few nip tucks. We'll let Jason know about your comments.
All right, Shadow Wolf says MMOC rebooted is Matrix Online. I like the story and missions. Give out 5 different missions you can do in the class system, even zone design. But if in developers for rebooted Matrix Online update engine, I think what you mean is I hope that if they were to do such a thing, they would update the engine.
Oh yes, that would. That game would definitely need a new engine. Yeah. The PvP Addicted said, I would like to see Fantasy Earth Zero. This is, I agree. Get rebooted because it was the fantasy equivalent to PlanetSide 2. It was the type of game that was fun to jump in and play with friends to defend your nation and reclaim territory. I absolutely agree. PvP Addicted. Fuck yeah, Fantasy Earth Zero.
And Sailor Naruto says, oh my god, Magic Man's new hair. I love it.
I'm sorry. It wasn't new. It was old. That's why it's gone. Go ahead. That was their question of the week answered, too. All right. There.
And the question of the week, for what they said, was I would want to see Shia rebooted. It was the first MMORPG I ever played back in 2009. I learned almost every concept of MMOs from it, but I stopped playing it after a few months because it was getting way too hard to level up, was pretty pay to win, and grindy as dicks. All right. I'd want to see it rebooted now because it's hella dated, and I would love to see something that will always have a place in my heart, fresh look and feel to it.
All right. Your question of the week next week, or this week, put your answers below. It's, if you were going to implement a persistent world in a MOBA, how would you do it to attract players? Let us know in the comments below what your persistent world would look like. Make sure you give us your weekly bombs, D bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad, or if you just have a question for the panel of hosts, throw it down there as well. We'll try and get it on the show, as many as we can. Until next week, until next week, Zach, don't be grindy as dicks. Where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me. See, either you or I were going to tie that in.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, you guys can find me on lugogaming.com, lugogaming.com. It's where I post everything that I do and host, so make sure to check out that site. Other than that, you can follow me at Zach Sharps as well on Twitter. I post a lot of random things on there, so yeah.
Until next week, I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1, where I occasionally tweet stupid things. So if you like stupid, head on over. Of course, come see me at MMOBomb.com, where we're doing all the articles, all the videos, all the giveaways, and basically writing lots of words and putting them on the internet. Until next time, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers.